Welcome back to GaleForceWins Season 3.
The GaleForceWins podcast is proudly sponsored by the Newfoundland and Labrador Construction Association. The NLCA provides unparalleled opportunities for its members through industry education, construction information, government advocacy, and networking events. The NLCA is building Newfoundland and Labrador. For more information, visit nlca.ca.
Is this on?
Come on, man. Ready to go.
Welcome to another edition of GaleForceWins.
Yeah.
And
Sorry, I'm trampling on you. Go!
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done trampling on you.
Did you want to talk about the weather or anything? Want to get that out of your system?
I'll get to that.
All right. Welcome to
Running joke. Go.
Okay. You got it out?
I'm quiet.
All right. Welcome to another edition of GaleForceWins, and what an exciting time we are having out here in Placentia. Right now we're at the Port of Argent, and I can tell you there is a lot of cool things happening out here. I'm Alan Dale. With me, as always, my good buddy Jerry Crew. How are you, Jerry?
Pretty good. Sorry about trampling on you in the introduction. Usually, Andrew, I give a little weather report.
Okay.
Some people find it relevant. Alan doesn't. But I give it anyway. It's pretty cold out there today, though, Alan. The drive was something else, eh?
And it's July.
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Andrew Shorts. I'm right now serving as the Chief Operating Officer for Integrated Logistics. We started the business in 2009, and it's been quite a roller coaster of events, I guess, to today. I came into the industry through, I guess, some unique experiences. My background, I did a Bachelor of Commerce, MBA. I was working in commercial finance, and I was looking for an opportunity to, I guess, get more engaged with a business and look for a piece of ownership. And I met some gentlemen that were interested to start a stevedore business, and I thought, well, that's the logical next step in my career, to completely throw down a path in commercial finance and buy some coveralls and get down in the whole
Bit of a pivot.
Yeah, a little bit of a pivot, that's for sure, but sometimes in life you got to shake it up in order to keep it exciting. So the first few years, I will say, we may have had, a limited number of customers and projects, but our financial statements were in tip-top shape, I can guarantee you. I certainly brought all those skills to my past life. Yeah.
So how do they, so you joined the company 10 odd years ago, was it?
Yeah, so really started the company. So
Okay.
there was, I had two partners at the time, Newfoundlanders,
Yeah.
Bruce and Monty Dyke, and they had the concept to form with another company, Quebec Stevedoring Limited, who today are still involved in the company, and they're in like 64 marine terminals all throughout North America. They're growing into rail distribution, trucking, logistics. So really a significant business partner to have for us in Integrated Logistics, and brings a lot of depth to what we can do.
Right.
And of course, them having local partners on the ground here means that they have very good connections to the traditional business community, and very good buy-in. And in many ways, we've been able to leverage that into further opportunities. In about 2014, we started Integrated Nunatsiavut Logistics, and that's our indigenous arm of Integrated Logistics, where we are partnered with Nunatsiavut group of companies.
Okay.
So we do a lot of interesting work in Labrador, in Voisey's Bay. We've done flotel projects, all types of heavy lift logistics and marine transportation connections.
Wow.
So, yeah, so it's been a real big learning experience for me. Obviously, where my background was, I was with the Business Development Bank. I spent a lot of time meeting entrepreneurs, trying to learn about their business, figure out how I could help. But I was really always interested in the process. And the process is a lot more demanding, I guess, than just about hearing about those tales. I always had a desire to get more engrossed in an operation, and this was that opportunity. And it's been an amazing journey. Well, I started as the first real employee of the company, right? I was number one. I was the chief. First title was general manager. I was general manager of one, which is a very very prestigious position.
Did you have any arguments with yourself?
I was very hard on
Probably
myself.
did, eh?
Yeah, still sometimes a little bit too hard on myself. But
I get that.
yeah, no, it's been great. We've met a lot of good people. The first place we set up was here in Argentia. This is the first place we had a marine terminal. I had a previous connection to the Argentia area when I was doing my Bachelor of Commerce. A good friend of mine, Terry Green, who's from the Placentia area. So we were doing a course for economic redevelopment.
Yeah.
And he came to me and said, I just did a work term with the Port of Argentia. He said, it's an ice-free port, deep, good navigational aids, accessible all year round. They're going to restructure this from being an old American base into the next economic hub. And I remember thinking, like, I have no interest in this whatsoever. And he said, well, I already have all of the papers and research done, so really we just got to reformat it and submit it for our academic paper. And I was keenly interested.
I was going to
at
say
that point. He had me hooked. Like, we had the whole course was pretty much in our hands. But it was so interesting in life. We did that course. We passed in a report on the port, and it kind of goes out of my mind completely. And then, like, 12 years later, I get the opportunity to actually start to work in the marine industry. And of course, where do we choose to set up our first location was here in Argentia. So I came down and I met with the CEO at the time, and really struggled to try to remember everything we submitted in the paper to kind of let him know that I was fully engaged in the port. I knew the place inside
Didn't have a copy of the paper anymore.
I didn't bring a copy of the paper, but Harvey Breton was there, and we had interviewed him for that paper. So yeah, life's funny.
So tell us about your footprint here now in Argentia. How big's the company, and what are you doing?
So I guess in Argentia we started renting a parcel near the port. So as you can imagine, our core competency is stevedoring. So we organize the teams to go on the vessels and get the cargo off. Mm-hmm. We've taken that core competency and we'll go as far into a customer's supply chain as they see us create value. So for some customers, that's still very traditional. Take our cargo out, put it on our truck, and then we'll take it to the warehouse. For some customers, they ask for additional services. Like now, we're doing some processing work here in the port for customers. Just up the bay a little bit further, we have the site services contract in Long Harbour, so we've got about 70 people engaged there. And then in our indigenous business, we have tug and barge contracts in support of Vale's underground project. Okay. And so I would say in the summertime, we're probably around 140 people, working across the province. Wow. And what's great is when we started here in Placentia, today we've got people from Placentia working at our operation here in the port, working with us in Long Harbour, and we have people as far north as Voisey Bay today engaged in the services we provide. So,
Andrew, that's amazing. You must feel pretty proud to have that many people employed and those families, and just the economic fabric of Newfoundland is being helped by that.
Yeah, I mean we are proud of it. There's no doubt about it. We're proud of the connections we make, and the thing I take the most pleasure out of is when we meet people younger in their career, and a lot of people will come and try what we do for a short period of time. Maybe they'll come for a single port call. Maybe they're laid off from another job. They don't really know what stevedoring is, because unless you did it or have a great background in the Navy like you gentlemen, not a lot of people understand the marine logistics world. So then they become a little bit more engaged in it, they like it, and then they turn into junior supervisors, then we got them running jobs in other locations. So it really is a pleasure for us to be able to sit back and see people progress through the organization and grow themselves and see where that leads them, right?
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've heard a lot of exciting projects that are on the horizon for this port and in Newfoundland largely. Where do you see yourself fitting into all of those big projects on the horizon?
Well, as long as it comes over the dock, I think we've got a pretty good chance of being able to provide some solutions and get involved. Here in the port this past year, we just purchased a warehouse and renovated it. So now we've got a chemical handling facility here where we're bringing in somewhere around 50,000 metric tons of lime for the Long Harbour plant. So that then basically we're changing the packaging, the cut rise in bulk bags, we load it into tanker trucks and then make sure that those tanker trucks arrive on time at the Long Harbour site. We're starting to move into some other similar chemical type handling here. And we're really excited by the entire future. When we came here the first time and we drove the lands, we were very fortunate. We had the founder of QSL was able to come with us. I mean, this gentleman's grown in the 64 marine terminals, and he got out of the truck and he looked around and he said, "We got to be here."
Is that right?
I don't know, he said, when this place is going to boom, but he said there's just too much potential here for this place not to take off, so we have to be here.
It's interesting, you know, we've heard this theme, Alan, where you bring people in. We're here, and sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, but you bring someone like that in, he's like, "Andrew, we got to be here."
We got to be here. I mean, one of the things most unique about Argentia is the amount of marine infrastructure so distant from bedrooms, from communities. I mean, you know, humanity has always gravitated towards the ports, and then we built our homes around the ports. And then at some point, there's always a level of, you know, clash of, you know, heavy industrial activity. But this is the port I want to, you know, look out over in the evening and maybe, you know, relax for a little bit, or, you know, Sunday morning I want to have a coffee and look out over the port. I don't necessarily want to be engaged with all that activity. Then tourism comes and, you know, hotel infrastructure, restaurants. But it's very rare to find, I mean, this vast amount of land with such good infrastructure already, but I mean the potential to continue to add, to expand into Cooper's Cove, and then still have no fear of, you know, interrupting, you know, someone's evening. I mean, this really is an amazing economic hub, yet to be potentially, to be developed to its full potential.
Well, you know, you're the first one that has described it in that way, and thank you for that, because you're right. Oftentimes there is a clash or a tension between the urbanization of a port and the industrial complex that's surrounding it, and all of those challenges that they face. But here, you got lots of room to grow. You've got a lot of space to have it all in one spot.
And the industry's developed to be able to afford that, if you will. If you, you know, we spent some time traveling in Norway, and very similar story. A lot of fishing communities, and then they developed their oil and gas fields. And for the first few seasons, the oil companies would only commit to so much activity. So the request for infrastructure came to the existing sites. And then that increased and that increased. But then industries mature to the point where they'll say, we will look for a 15, 20-year solution. And then they start to, you know, think outside the box, outside that traditional hub. I mean, Newfoundland has always been a major player, in my mind, in the energy sector. I tell my friends that, you know, in the 1800s we were still in the energy sector. We had 20 whaling stations. We had 11 factories that by, I think it was 1904, we produced 1.5 million gallons of whale oil. Now that's not necessarily, you know, the most environmentally energy choice of today, but that was for all the lighting lamps of Europe, and that was our first play into the energy sector. Each one of those ports, a whaling station, yes, but it was a supply base. And then we had 11 sites that were processing, you know, this resource into fuel. And today, with petroleum base, and now we're going to learn to capture the wind and the rain for the next great wave of energy. I just think it's an amazing time to be in this sector in Newfoundland, Labrador. You know, remember our heritage, remember how long we've been at that, and
when you were starting your business, did you ever think you might have the opportunity to move a 2,800-ton monopile? and 56 of them to be exact.
The very first thing that I remember picking up was an 80-ton ship that was on the deck of another ship, and let me tell you that was nerve-wracking for the first lift. There's always moments in all of these jobs in heavy logistics. I always call it the pucker moment, where you kind of tense up a little bit and say, this has been engineered, this has been planned, this is all analyzed, and now we have to do it. Yeah. And that's going to be an exciting day for sure. Our friends at Mammoth are working hard with Boscalis to make that happen. We're very fortunate. We've been working with Mammoth in our indigenous business for many years in Labrador. And we're really pleased to see him have a project of that size here in the port. So
wow.
It's going to be exciting.
Must be a fun time to be in integrated logistics in Newfoundland.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's the first time I said that on the podcast.
Say it as much as you want.
We had no idea what you did prior to you sitting down, so hopefully we've enlightened a few people.
Yeah, well, it is very interesting. I mean, we've been engaged in almost every major project since we started, every mega project. There is no large-scale industrial project in Newfoundland that doesn't have to consider some element of marine logistics to get their cargo here or potentially get their finished products back out again. Right. And you look at these mega projects, they're bringing so much more than our standard supply chain generally would handle. Or they're making such large purchases that they really are looking to specialized companies to pitch in and make that happen. Wow. And then we just get in there and we start looking at the other things they're doing, trying to find other ways to add value. And for example, here we were handling lime for a number of years, and we got the chance to study that process, and we changed the technology and the tools we use, and we have pretty much a dustless handling of lime, which is very difficult to do. It improves the health and safety of everyone in the community, and most importantly, our workers that are in that environment every day. So, we don't always understand or don't always recognize maybe the role that logistics plays every day in our lives, but it really is an interesting field for me. I mean, I get to study how many units of a type of cargo is coming in, and you get to do almost like time trials and figure, okay, I want to make a lift every 6 or 7 minutes, and now if I'm going to do that, now what resources do I need here for that to happen? Then I want to make sure that I get that lift away from the side of the ship every 6 or 7 minutes. So what do we need for that? And then that truck needs to come back, or that forklift needs to come back. So we did a project in Bull Arm where they asked us to provide logistics for a camp project. So the first round of that, we took all the camps off the ship, took them to lay down, we cataloged everything, and then we helped with the crane installations on the foundations. And I felt really good about that. And then our Norwegian partner came back, and our client, and asked us to twist the thinking a little bit. He said, can you go from the ship directly to the foundation without going to lay down? So that really kind of shook things up, because the first process took us like 4 weeks. Yeah. And the second process, what I had to do was kind of break the whole entire job down into 15-minute intervals, right? So we had all these workstations set up through the site, and the idea was, if this process was 10 minutes, well, you only got 10 minutes, then you had to move on to maybe a station where carpenters were fitting out the thing with trim, and on and on and on. The first day we got 8 units off the boat and onto the foundation, which is not successful in our business, but we felt that the first day everybody had to learn what their steps and process were. Yeah. We went back in, we had a real positive, energetic toolbox talk with everyone the next morning, and the next day the ship captain said to me, so you've decided to take it to lay down, you have 55 units. I said, no, Captain, right there, that's the building going together, and he was amazed. And It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of study and focus, but if you're not excited by that, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. Maybe you should be doing something else.
Do you? I mean, that's a great story.
Yeah.
Do you ever go back to the business school, talk to the students about this kind of stuff? I mean, that story, that's gold, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
My daughter is in business school now,
yeah.
and
She doesn't want to see you there.
maybe
What year is she in?
that. She's in her second year.
Yeah.
She's in her second
My
year.
son's in his first year.
Yeah.
They may cross paths.
They may cross paths, absolutely. It hasn't come up for me. I've been so focused on the responsibilities to the business.
Yeah.
I haven't really had a lot of extra time. I do some volunteering at the YMCA. I still engage in some areas of the community, but it was difficult for me to be here. I think I sent you a text just prior saying, "Oh, looks like we'll reschedule."
We made you wait for half an hour.
You made me wait for half an hour.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. It's okay.
So, I really appreciate it. Jerry, your thoughts?
I'm just blown away. You did a business degree, right? Not an engineering degree,
Yeah, I did a
but you
business
have an
degree,
engineering bent, obviously.
A little bit. The rules of mathematics apply to everyone, Jerry,
Yeah.
and this also came up on the same project because they asked for a rigging design. So I had done the rigging design, and I spent a lot of time with masterful riggers and people that do engineering rigging. So I'd done one up, and if the angle measurement was 59 degrees, I put it in as 59, not 60, which would be a standard angle to use. And the young engineer took it and came out 2 hours later, and he said, this is really good. This is very accurate. Could you please put your stamp on it so that we can allow the work to continue? I said, well, I don't know if there's a stamp for MBA, but so then he had one of those pucker moments.
Yeah, sure.
And went back and double checked it all. But it was all
Listen,
good.
I've really enjoyed it. As you're talking, I think the logistics of taking things off a ship. We had you late because we had the logistics of scheduling people and people talking longer and all that. So it's like that logistical piece. What you do is even more challenging. But thank you immensely for being here and sharing what you do. And this is such an incredible place, and that's why we're here. We want the province to know that there's incredible economic opportunity.
Absolutely.
So let's all get after it.
Yeah, 100%. Two last questions, Andrew. I guess if I could ask you, what's Port of Argentia mean to you? What's it mean to your company?
Well, I mean, it's always going to have a special place for us. It's ground zero for Integrated Logistics. It's the first place that we got the right to hang out a shingle. As I said earlier, the employee base that we've met in the surrounding area travels with us to all of our work. And then having that connection to the place with friends from university is very nice. I myself am from Airport Heights before Airport Heights was part of St. John's, so my friends tease me and say, how does a guy from a community with no touch to the water whatsoever end up in marine logistics? So for me, this is our marine home. Right. So it's great to be here. Absolutely.
And I guess the final question, and it's the toughest one I think of the day. Do you remember what mark you got on that economic regional development course?
I know that 65 was considered a pass, so anything above that was worth celebrating at the time.
I'm going to tell you, because if you didn't get 100, man, that guy's got to rethink the course. Because you made it successful.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to GaleForceWins. That's GaleForceWins, WINS.com.